So the actual assignment disappeared because we were no longer doing it in class. So I'm doing the report of my paper as extra credit. So the entire premise of my paper was to discuss how unhealthy family dynamics have kind of messed up the Robins of the Bat family, the male Robins, and how Bruce Wayne is kind of the source for all of their sibling dysfunction. I actually wound up being incredibly disappointed in my paper. I got a near perfect score, and it was very hard for me to hear that my introduction was deemed a little too weak, because it kind of makes me feel like the rest of my paper was disregarded. So I just feel like if there's no real grasp in the introduction, then nobody really kind of understands what I'm trying to say in the paper, and that really it sucks, because there's so much that I'm trying to say, but it's also hard not to just let the whole paper be driven by emotion. So I truly hope that this paper was read thoroughly, and I really hope that the points that I was trying to convey were actually absorbed, and I really hope that if somebody else reads this paper in the future, it's something that they can reference for their own papers about this kind of thing, because there's so much that was left unsaid that I had to squish into 6 pages, and it was just, I felt like I could have done better, and then not much I can do about it now. But you know what, first of all, I should have just taken out unhealthy family dynamics. I kind of explained that in my introduction about how the Bat family does not exactly adhere to healthy family dynamics. So I don't think putting unhealthy family dynamics in my title was extremely necessary. And that is subject to opinion, but I feel just putting sibling dysfunction, courtesy of the Dark Knight, is pretty self-explanatory, especially after I get into the introduction. So I first begin by explaining how the Bat family does not adhere to healthy family dynamics, particularly the Robins and their relationship with Batman, and how Batman is kind of the source for how the Robins failed to form relationships with each other until they had to figure out how to do it themselves. So first, I really dote hard on Dick Grayson's relationship with Bruce Wayne and his kind of introduction into being Robin and all that, and how Bruce Wayne quite literally stripped this boy of a childhood and essentially was like, hey, I'm a crime fighter, you're my adopted son, why don't we do this together? Because he's like, I don't want you to wind up like me. His argument was, I taught him to be like me so he wouldn't wind up like me. And in the end, he still kind of wound up like Bruce. And so I feel like it was very, very counterproductive. But I've written just papers about what would happen if Dick Grayson had never been adopted by Bruce Wayne. Personally, I feel Dick Grayson would have been just fine if he hadn't been adopted by Bruce Wayne. He had a family, okay? He had a family with Haley Circus. And Bruce Wayne kind of was like, hey, I'm going to adopt this kid because I empathize with him. Dick probably would have been sad. He might have even left the circus because it reminded him too much of his family. But at least he still had a family with Haley Circus. With Bruce quite literally trying to turn Jason into Dick after Dick left, Jason was his own person, and Bruce was trying to make him the same Robin. And when Jason didn't quite click with that role that Bruce was trying to put him into, he got upset. He was like, I'm doing what you asked me to, but I'm doing it my way, and why is that not good enough for you? And Bruce, unwilling to kind of match Jason's energy. Granted, Bruce was trying to keep Jason from falling into a chasm that Jason was even when he came back, he was like, Bruce, I'm still going to do what I had always set out to do. And if you're going to stand in my way, I will remove you, but you're not going to stop me because I'm not Dick. I'm my own person. I'm not going to become you. He had his own idea of how things should be run. When he got resurrected, Batman was like, hey, second chance. And Jason was like, hey, second chance. And he became Red Hood. He became what he'd always set out to do. And then with Jason, I was thinking about what would happen if Bruce had never adopted Jason. Jason probably would have stayed in Crime Alley. He probably would have joined a gang, or he probably would have continued living on the street. who knows? Like, Jason did have untapped potential. Bruce may have tried to make his life better, but he tried to push Jason into the life that somebody else had left behind. So granted, Jason may have wound up as one of the criminals that Batman would have thrown in jail in the future had he not adopted him, but still, that was not Batman's obligation. That was not Bruce Wayne's obligation to adopt Jason. Tim's a special case. He literally, like, became obsessed with the idea of becoming Robin because he was persistent in his thought and his belief that Batman needed a Robin, especially after Jason passed away. And when he was very adamant about first getting Dick to come back and be Robin, because he's like, Batman's suffering, dude, he needs a Robin. Dick is like, I don't want to be that anymore. Like, I can't be that. And Tim was like, fine, I'll do it myself. And Tim subjected himself to the training. He didn't have any of the skills that the others possessed except for his, like, genius level intellect. And Bruce was like, hey, I can use that. But that wasn't before he was like, I don't want you, kid. I don't want another person getting hurt. No, like, Tim came from a wealthy family. Like, he still had people that he had to lose. And the difference was that he wasn't an orphan until after he became Robin. And that was part of the reason why Bruce was so, like, he was so hesitant about letting him become Robin. And even when his parents did die, even when Jackson did die, I really hope his dad's name is Jackson. Tim's affiliation with Batman is the whole reason that, number one, he gets kidnapped and brainwashed by Joker. Number two, he defies his father. He does things that his family is like, please do not do this. Like, it's not safe. We don't want this for you. And Tim is so persistent to be Robin that he defies his family. Granted, he does quit for a while, and then Stephanie dies, and he's like, well, guess I gotta go back, you know? There's just so much about Tim. And like I said, like, I think about, like, Jackson Drake. What is his dad's name?
FBI, drop it and show me your hands.
Jack Drake. Like, even after Jack Drake dies, Bruce, knowing Tim, probably would have adopted him. Bruce had never adopted Dick. There never would have been a Robin. I don't even think he would have made Tim the first Robin. I sincerely believe he would have had the same position as, say, Lucius Fox. He would have helped develop Wayne Tech. He would have helped with the bat stuff. He would have helped with the technology, with the building, with the science behind all of that stuff. Like, he would not have become Robin, but he still would have had a place at Batman's side. A much safer place. There's so much that I just couldn't put in this paper that I really wanted to put in this paper. You have Damian Wayne, the baby, the only blood son who has so much and nothing to prove at the same time. Like, he knows who he is. He's very bold about who he is. He's very protective of his self-identity. And when it's being questioned by a father he just found out he had, you have two forces that are almost as equally powerful as the other trying to butt heads, and it's not going to work. And then you add in the fact that you have Dick Grayson, who Bruce is like, hey, I need your help. I cannot take care of Damian by myself. And of course, Dick gets thrown back into this, and he is just, at this point, he's kind of just off doing his own thing, and Bruce just drags him back in again. It's very frustrating for Damian because, first of all, Damian feels like his father does not accept him for who he is, and he doesn't like the fact that Bruce is trying to change him. And he's much like Jason in this way. However, Damian kind of sees how his way is considered wrong. He wants to become a better son and a better Robin for Bruce, just for the sole purpose of just being there for his father, essentially. And which he does, like, with Dick's help, of course. Like, Damian begins to do better in school. He begins to behave better. He's not as murdery as he used to be. And all of that comes with the conditioning that he got when he was part of the League of Assassins. Like, the worst part of it, and I made a very strong point about this, is that Damian Wayne is quite literally the embodiment of everything Bruce had always wanted in the Robins. Like, Tim was close to genius. Dick had the physical capabilities of a gymnast. Like, he was on point. And then you have Jason, who has the tactics and the street smarts. Like, he's very cautious. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to protect himself. He's not afraid to fight dirty if it means he's gonna live. They're all in Damian. But Damian is like the hardest of the Robins to control and to reform because he was born and bred to be a killer. Being a vigilante, like a life-saving vigilante, a non-lethal vigilante, is not his forte. The rest of my paper goes on to explain how the Bat Boys quite literally had to develop their own relationships. I didn't really get a chance to talk much about Tim and Jason and Damien and Jason and even Tim and Damien because I just ran out of room in my paper. Like, if I had been given even just one more page, there's so much more I could have included in this. Including more scientific research as to how psychological trauma affects children and they carry it into their adulthood, and how much psychological and physical trauma Bruce subjected these boys to. Like, you bet your ass they were getting beaten half to death when they were like 11 years old. Well, Jason quite literally to death when he was 15, but Dick has a very negative position in Jason's life just because Bruce had always tried to push Jason to become just like Dick. So the two of them don't really have a brotherly relationship. Their relationship, acquaintanceship, friendship at best. I don't think, just because of all of the stuff they've been subjected to in their childhood and how they've like come to see each other, I don't think that pushing their relationship past a professional acquaintanceship is good for them, just because there is a lot of negativity, there's a lot of old grudges there. There's a lot of shared romantic partners. That is one other thing that I could not put in here. For example, you have Barbara Gordon, you have Dick and Jason, you have Starfire, you have Dick, maybe Jason, you have Talia al Ghul, you have Bruce Wayne and Jason, and then you have Zatanna, you have Dick and you have Bruce. And then you have Selena Kyle, you have Dick and you have Bruce. Like, the amount of romantic partners that these three share, they are a family of swingers. And that is one thing that I did not have room to put in my paper, and I really wish I would have. Anyway, I think the relationship between Dick and Tim, there's the most like actual brotherly care in there. Like, Tim and Dick didn't have a lot of interaction when Tim first became Robin because, number one, Dick wanted absolutely nothing to do with Bruce at that time. He was in Bloodhaven, he was becoming Nightwing, he was doing his own thing. When Tim became Robin, he's like, hey, I need your advice about some stuff. I need your help. Like, what can I do to become a better Robin? Like, what all this stuff is. Like, he went to Dick because he wanted to be better. Tim wanted to be Robin so badly. And finally, Dick and Tim had their own relationship apart from Bruce, and I think that was the best part of it, was that it was something that they found for themselves. Like, they were able to cultivate their own relationship. They started spending more time together outside of being Robin and Nightwing. Like, they really did form a relationship. And even in their vigilante line of work, like, Nightwing was so protective of Robin and throughout all platforms, like in Young Justice, the animated series, and Young Justice, the comic, like, Nightwing and Robin really do act like older and little brother. Then you have Dick and Damien, and I personally, it is the most comedic relationship for me, but it is also like the best developed. And it is because these two they began by hating each other's freaking guts. Not like Jason and Dick level, but they were quite literally at each other's throats 24/7, because you have the eldest and the first and the youngest and the true, and they're just always like butting heads. Like, Damien being like, I'm a better Batman than you, I'm a better Batman than you'll ever be. And Dick like, cool, I don't freaking care. That's great. You want to do that with your life? Excellent. You do that. And then still being dragged into being Batman when Batman goes missing because Damien is not quite there to step into Batman's shoes. And Dick acknowledges that. And he puts his pride aside and he's like, you know what? I need to do this because Gotham needs a protector. And even then, like, Damien comes to respect Dick for quite literally being like, okay, he's not one to like be petty about this. Like, he's doing this for the sole purpose of protecting the city rather than how badly he hates Bruce for what he did. I truly believe that Damien was more Dick's Robin than Bruce's, because I just feel the two harbored such a connection between each other through the time that they were forced to spend together. And it was something that even Bruce and Damien as father and son just didn't have. And I truly believe that Damien was a better Robin for Dick than he was for Bruce. Batman done fucked up these boys. I just wish that, granted, like, we have like the Bat Family comic now, and it kind of shows like them all living together in the Batman, or like in Wayne Manor, and that's great, but you can't always just look at the cute fluffy stuff. You have to actually get into like the hard hitting like source material. So I really hope that whoever else reads this in the future just kind of understands that not everything came from a good place.